And then I'm like, okay, what was the first thing I learned? I'm gonna need some coffee for this one. Okay, so what I did to pass A+ on the first try, thank you Jesus, and how you can pass too on your first try. Okay, first things first, you need to know what to study. CompTIA has plenty of free resources, which is amazing because you technically don't have to buy anything. You can just use those free resources, which I thought about doing at first. Sorry, this light is like glaring. So much better. What first thing I did was, now this is not the A+ 1001 objectives. It's the second because I'm gonna work towards that, but I printed out the objectives, the 1001. And I guess another thing would be to choose which one you want to take first. 1001 is the hardware, 1002 is the software version of the test. So I printed these off, and then I looked through them and I made a study plan of what I wanted to do. So I would pick a day and I would say, okay, this day I'm going to learn 1.1 and 1.2 together, and then the next day, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? So I just made a schedule of learning everything within the time frame. So I started in March this year and I took the test in August. So in March, between March and June, I really didn't have that much study time because I was working full time. I was getting in like maybe one objective and I wasn't like absorbing the information. I was more of just like looking at it and like seeing it for the first time and like getting it in my brain and getting my brain used to looking at this kind of stuff. So that's the first thing I did. I looked at all the objectives. Even if I didn't know what they meant, I just read it so that way I could know, like when I see it again, like, oh yeah, that was probably in this part. Once I printed these out, I always refer to these. I know a lot of people say that, and it's very true because some of the material out there that you're gonna find for CompTIA, it's like all mixed together with like older versions of the test, or it's mixed together with the second version of the test, which would be the 1002. So you kind of got to know what you need to study and what to wait on so you don't focus too much on the wrong stuff and then fail the test. I printed that out. And then the second thing I did, I decided to buy this this CompTIA Mike Myers. Is this Mike Myers? Yeah. I decided to buy this textbook because, well, it's not a textbook. It's like an exam book. For two reasons. One, I knew all the information was going to be here, and this was the only thing I had decided to use at the time. And then two, I know that a lot of people say books are very useful in your career. You can go back to look at things that you may have forgotten, like silly things that like you just don't remember. So this was a huge help because it like kind of took it down to like human terms so I could like understand it. I used this to read through each chapter of each objective. So that's what I use this for. So I would relate this to this. That way I knew that I was getting the information I need. Once I read through the chapter, I still like really didn't understand what I was doing, to be honest. I just was like, okay, like I get some of the acronyms, I get some of the terms and phrases or whatnot. So then what I did is I went to YouTube at Professor Messer videos for A+ 1001. What I would do is on those days that I was learning, I would watch all the videos for 1.1 and 1.2. Once I watched all those videos, at first I started taking notes on all that stuff, and then I decided I'm just gonna write flashcards instead of taking the notes because I was taking the notes and then writing flashcards. So I was writing it twice, which is good. It's really helpful to write it twice, but I noticed I could pick up on the information if I wrote it on a flashcard and then looked at it, like flipped it over, back and over, and then moved on, than writing it twice because I was focused on writing neat, getting all the information down. So I found that was helpful. Once I got tired of making flashcards because every little term I had a flashcard for, I decided to use Quizlet to make my own cards. And that was in essence like writing it twice. So I was writing it down, then typing it. And once I got tired of doing that, because that was a lot of work, and I felt like I was putting more energy into making flashcards than actually studying flashcards, I started to use sets online that were already made. And there's tons. I know like most people who are changing careers don't have the luxury of doing what I did, but I took June through August. I quit my job in June, and then June through August, I studied 8 hours a day. And I know most people don't have that, so it's easier to, because in 8 hours, I can get through this first page and half of the second page. But when I was working, I can only do 1 and 2, and that's completely fine. Doing 1 and 2 a day is really helpful. I honestly feel like the slower you learn something, the more likely you are to obtain it than learning it quickly how I did. I learned the first 2 pages, and then I'm like, okay, what was the first thing I learned? So I would, after work, I would get the first objective, read it, then I would read the text, which really I just skimmed the text, to be honest. Skim the text, and then watch the video. And then after that video, I would watch it again and make flashcards that second time. And that really was like the essence of everything that I really did to actually study for the information. And blessed to have passed with that. Now, closer to the test, I started using practice exams that were free online. So I use Exam Compass. I believe that was one. Crucial Exams. I will try and link them below. There's a ton of free, but you just have to make sure you're doing the correct version of the test, because I think there's a 901 and 902. You want to be doing the 1001 and 1002 because those are the ones that are valid right now. People said it's good to study with the 901 and 902. I didn't. I only studied the 1000 because I didn't want to get information. I didn't want to study information that I didn't need, basically. So I knew that if I did it this way, I would always be there. You know what I mean? I used the exams after a while to study. Like, those were what I was doing. And then I would score myself and see what I got wrong. And then I would go back to the objectives and highlight the ones that I don't know. And then the stuff that I did know, I really didn't review that until like a week before the test, because the stuff I didn't know was the stuff that I was going to do really bad on, because I didn't know it clearly. So the stuff I kind of knew, I probably could guess my way through. That was like my logic to it. I was like, oh yeah, I probably can figure it out. I took those practice exams like the last 2 weeks leading up to the test. I did the practice exams like over and over and over just to get the feel of the test, because on the test there are multiple choice questions, but they're also performance-based questions, which are like matching, fill in the blank, all that kind of stuff. It was like there are gonna be like 2 or 3 performance-based questions and then the rest. But no, I had like 6 or 7, and it was like boom, 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 boom right in the beginning, and I was like, oh my god. But I took a tip from everyone who ever talks about CompTIA. Skip those questions. Ooh, calm down. Skip those questions and go to the multiple choice. So while I was taking the test, I skipped all those, went to the multiple choice, tagged things I didn't know, moved on, and answered everything I knew, went back, answered everything I didn't know, then go to the performance-based questions. I feel like if you really study the examples that are given for the performance-based questions that are out there right now, I feel like you will pass all the performance-based if you study what's already out there right now, because that's what they're looking for. You know how to put this into motion. So a tip as well. So on your objective, so if it says explain the purposes, I could explain the purposes of all of these. If it says compare and contrast, I can compare and contrast everything under there. If it says given a scenario, configure the appropriate IP addressing components, I would configure that, like know how to configure those in every situation. Because at first what I was studying is just knowing what they meant. So I would just know public versus private means what, not how to configure it. That is a really big, huge thing, to read the objectives and know how to implement the objectives. Because if you do not know, you're going to get that answer wrong. If you don't know how to configure the appropriate IP addressing components, you're not going to get that right. Just knowing it is not enough. It's not. What you need to do to pass CompTIA A+ 1000, because I've done it. You need to put in the study time. You have to put in the study time. You have to understand the objectives. You have to be able to complete the objectives, how they're written. You have to be able to be used to taking a test. Practice makes perfect. Taking that test over, all the practice tests over and over and over again, that's what you need to be doing to be able to be comfortable when you get in that setting. You're already going to be like a little worried because you're like, do I know enough? Do I not know enough? People say like you should be making 80% on your practice exams before you take a test. I was making like 76% when I took them, and I was really worried, but I got there. I only took it because I had a deadline for myself. I made a deadline. I was like, okay, I'm taking it August, whatever. Like, I didn't say like, okay, in August I'll take it. I had a date and I signed up for the test. That way there was no excuse. I had to study. I think that's a good tip as well. You just sign up. Just sign up. You have to do it. I think it took me a little bit longer to learn it because I was fresh, you know, fresh off the boat. I didn't know anything about IT. So not only did I have to get comfortable with the terms, I had to get comfortable with learning what they mean and how they work and what situation would they work. I was having these objectives, this textbook, and I believe it was, I want to say it was like $50, but I could be wrong. I'm going to see if I can link that one as well. I do think having this textbook, these objectives, and Professor Messer's videos, you can pass. I really do. I really do. If you really study the material. I use extra things, obviously, because I wanted to make sure I passed. But if you use those things, I really think you can pass. Also, when you buy this textbook, in the back of the book, there is a code that you can go to his website, and there's like free practice stuff. Anything that's free, I used. Anything I found that's free, I used. And if I started using it and the stuff started to not make sense, I stopped using it because I was like, okay, that's not something I need to know. If the material is incorrect, move on. Because if one thing's incorrect, more than likely there's going to be another thing, and you don't want that. Okay, yeah, so I plan on taking my 1002 in December. The class that I'm in now is for the software version of everything. That's why I have these printed already. I think I'm going to do a mixture of self-study and a mixture of this class. I don't think the class will, ooh, Jesus. I don't think the class will cover everything. I don't see how in 16 weeks it will. I could be wrong because it is a class, so we're going to have like other assignments that are due. But I'm hoping that that mixed with my self-study will be enough to pass. So in December, I'll be taking Network Plus and A Plus the second half. So pray for me, y'all, pray. So I will make a video about the second A Plus 1002 after I take it, and hopefully I pass. If not, then I'll be using more study techniques, and I'll let you guys know those once I find them. All right, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope this helps. I'm going to try to link everything I use down below, even if I didn't talk about it. I'll try and link it. But yeah, I really hope if you're taking your A+, like you guys pass and you're happy and you can celebrate and you just... It's such a good feeling. Like, all that studying did not go to waste, and I was just so happy. I was so happy. Sorry, I still get excited when I saw that you passed. I was like, oh my God. Like, how? How did I pass? Whatever amount of time you can study, if it takes you a year to do this test, it will be worth it. But if it does take you a year, be aware the test does expire every 3 years. So you're going to want to take both of those within that 3-year mark. I think the new test is coming up too. So I have to take A+, the second half, soon, or I'm gonna have to take the whole thing over again, and no one wants to do that. That's more money, and it's a waste of money and time. So like I was saying, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any tips, leave them down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, all that great stuff. And if you have any requests for anything technological, life, blah blah blah, you know, let me know. All right, have a good one. Bye. See you in the next video.